Hello folks, my name is Endor, and today I'm here to share my thoughts on Pixar's latest film, Inside Out 2, directed by Kelsey Mann. It's the story of Riley Anderson, who 2 years after moving to San Francisco is now 13 and still as exceptional as ever. And her emotions couldn't be more proud of her, especially after the discovery of Riley's sense of self, a collective of memories that make up Riley's core personality. So when Riley and her best friends are invited to a weekend hockey camp, the future couldn't look brighter. That is until one night, headquarters' puberty alarm goes off, and with it, 4 new emotions make their way into Riley's mind. Anxiety, envy, embarrassment, and ennui. It means the boredom. Now with a messy state of ideals and self, Riley's mind is taken over by anxiety, who suppresses the older emotions. It's up to joy, sadness, anger, disgust, and fear to get back to headquarters before anxiety changes who Riley is forever. And you know, after telling you the synopsis, I almost feel like I didn't need to explain what this movie's about to anyone who's watching, considering how insane of a performance this movie is doing at the box office. If you're watching this video, you've probably already seen Inside Out 2, or you've heard about how great it is and you've already got a ticket to go see it soon enough. But if you haven't, this video is still going to be mainly and primarily spoiler free. So let's get into it because this movie is insane.
I can take notes, get coffee, manage your calendar, walk your dog, carry your things, watch you sleep.
Wow, you have a lot of energy.
Alright, let's get into the story because Inside Out 2 has one of the best Pixar sequel stories in ever. Just ever. I think this might be, when it comes to Pixar sequels, this might be the 3rd best ever made. And that's only behind Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3. So, you know, when I'm saying it's the 3rd best, that doesn't mean it's lacking. It just means you can't really top peak. You can't top peak. Finally being able to see a payoff over the whole puberty button thing at the end of Inside Out 1 actually makes for a really engaging story for Riley to go through and for us to follow. And you know what? It was so incredibly engaging and smart and emotional. And of course emotional, you know what I mean. It's like you're watching the movie and you care about everything that's going on with Riley. You're just thinking, oh, come on, Riley, don't make these mistakes. Or, oh, I really hope Riley can make it through in the end. Or just, oh boy, I really hope this doesn't end bad for Riley. Considering, you know, Riley is the home of the emotions. They are the ones who help influence her in her everyday life. And you know what? That's something I also gotta mention too. I really like that this movie finally exemplifies and showcases way more the fact that the emotions are not Riley. The emotions influence Riley. They help Riley. They are not Riley herself. Riley is her own individual. Her emotions help her in her life. Because, you know, that's what emotions are supposed to do. I went to see this movie twice in the theater, just because after the first time, I knew I liked it. I knew I liked it a lot, but I really wanted to solidify and, you know, get a good idea of what exactly did I like about this movie a lot by the second watch. And by the time I was done watching it a second time, I loved the movie even more. And you know what? Got a little watery-eyed in the second time. You know, that's one thing I should mention about this movie. It does not make you cry as much as the first one did, because in the first Inside Out, there's 2 notable moments for when the audience cries. But in Inside Out 2, it's not really about crying. Maybe that's a little thing about modern Pixar. They don't really make you cry as much as they used to. But you know, they don't have to. It's not like a movie's bad if it doesn't make you cry. But you know, when it comes to the Pixar expectations, you would think, oh, I'm gonna go see a Pixar movie, so that means, oh, I'm gonna cry. Better prepare for the waterworks, bring some tissues. But no, modern Pixar doesn't really do that much. It does sometimes still, of course. Pixar still has their edge. I mean, that's definitely what Inside Out 2 is showing. But either way, when it comes to how I felt when watching Inside Out 2, I did feel all the emotions. I guess except ennui. I don't think they want to make you feel ennui when you're watching a movie. So yeah, great story. I'm pretty sure we've all heard about it. This movie's box office performance is crazy. Everyone's talking about it, loving it. So how about we get into the characters that are so engaging that everybody loves?
We all have a job to do. You make Riley happy. Sadness makes her sad. Fear protects her from the scary stuff she can see. And my job is to protect her from the scary stuff she can't see.
All right, the emotions, one by one. Let's start with our lead, as always, Joy. Do you remember how in the first movie, some people like hate Joy? Because Joy is always trying to suppress sadness, and everyone's like, Joy's being so mean to sadness. Even though Joy is a representation of what a lot of people try doing. They try to just hide away their sadness, pretend it's not there. And then that's kind of the whole idea. The more she pushes, the more it backfires on her. And then she learns, and then of course, you know, she learns to accept sadness. She knows that all the emotions are equally valid in helping Riley in her everyday life. Because sometimes you need to feel the negative emotions that you have because they're good for you. That's why they're there. And I'm really happy that Joy did not forget that. I was really worried that in this movie, Joy was going to be against all the new emotions, like completely from the get-go. But no, she's not. She even mentions the fact that she's already learned her lesson that every emotion that Riley has is important for her. So it's not like she's immediately like, uh-oh, new is bad. Let's not do the new. Let's just, you know, keep Riley the way she was before. Instead, she lets the other emotions' actions speak first, and then when she feels like something wrong is happening, that's when she steps in. And that's when, of course, you know, they get put in the jar that you've seen in the trailers. Because, of course, it had to be a jar. Did it have to be a jar, Pixar? Let's see. We got Anxiety. Anxiety is really, really fun. I love Anxiety. She's a great antagonist. And, of course, I will mention here, the voice cast for the movie, phenomenal. Everyone did an amazing job in portraying the emotions. Bill Hader and Mindy Kaling did not come back for Disgust or Fear because I'm pretty sure they were being offered a little too little. But the replacements, I'm pretty sure Fear is Tony Hale now, who is, you know, Forky in Toy Story 4. He did an amazing job. And the new voice of Disgust, I can't remember her name right now, but she also did amazing. I actually prefer her over Mindy Kaling, considering all the things that happened with Mindy Kaling after the original movie, but let's not talk about that right now. Lewis Black as Anger was amazing. You gotta love Anger. Anger has such a perfect, always kind of frustrated, upset, kind of, you know, aggravated voice that just fits his character. Even when he's not particularly angry, you can tell that at any moment he could just snap and his head could just light on fire. Phyllis Smith still doing a great job as Sadness. You gotta love Sadness. And you know what I appreciate? Sadness is actually not in this movie as much as she was in the first movie because, of course, she already had her time to shine with Joy in the first movie, so it's not like you're missing on Sadness. If you want more Sadness, you can just watch the first movie. But still, she gets quite a bit to do in this movie, and I really like her relationship that she grows with Embarrassment, really just showing her way of lighting up to people, or having people light up to her because of the way sadness is as an emotion. And I'm talking about the literal emotion, not the character. I just, you know, you get what I mean. Sadness shows in, like, vulnerability, which is, you know, a way that people bond together. Which is why, you remember the first movie, she was able to, you know, bond with Bing Bong. Right, but back to Anxiety. Anxiety as a character is so well done in portraying the emotion. They also showcase the fact that anxiety is a different thing than fear. Fear protects you from the things that you can see, physical damage to the body. Anxiety is an emotion that protects you from damage to, like, your mind, your lifestyle, things that you just wouldn't like personally. That's what anxiety is meant to do. And they showcase that really well. She has to say it herself too, just so people understand that there is a difference. But they are a little similar, and, you know, they even make a joke about that with Fear saying that him and Anxiety are going to be best friends. And I will say, Maya Hawke's performance and the animation for Anxiety the entire way, just Anxiety, full stop, was portrayed perfectly. as a character. I love her so much. Everybody loves her so much. And you can tell that no matter what she's doing it for the good of Riley. She's not trying to hurt Riley. She's not doing anything for her own gain. She's doing everything she does because her and all the other emotions, they love Riley. That's the important part about these movies. The fact that everything that the emotions are doing is for the sake of Riley because they love Riley. You love Riley, and also showcasing the fact that, you know, in the messages of these movies, emotions that we have are meant to be for the sake of us. Trying to suppress the emotions that we feel is not good for us. And that's exactly, you know, what happens with this movie because the original 5 are suppressed while anxiety is taking over, and it does not lead to great places for Riley. So yes, absolutely love anxiety. Who doesn't love anxiety? Weird sentence, isn't it? And of course, when it comes to the other 3 new emotions, which there were originally supposed to be 5 new emotions in total, including shame, but then they got rid of shame because apparently shame was not fun to watch. They didn't like what she did to the story, and they also couldn't figure out how shame would have been something that helps Riley. But, you know, after watching the movie, I think I understand what shame's role was going to be, and I also can't find a way of how they were going to incorporate shame into the movie in a way where shame is meant to help Riley. I guess maybe the fact that shame is an emotion you get when you make a mistake that you know you made on your own terms, understanding the consequences, understanding the negative, you know, aspect of it. So, you know, that could be helpful for Riley. But then apparently also shame isn't an emotion or something. It's a little complicated, but either way, yeah, so shame was not in the movie. But for the new emotions that were in the movie, of course, anxiety was great. I already mentioned that. Envy was interesting. She was very cute. Loved her a lot. Like how she's just super tiny because, of course, the characterization of the emotions and designs of the emotions in these movies are absolutely perfect. Envy is small and bright-eyed because, of course, being envious of someone means that you want something they have. But when you don't have that thing, you feel lesser. You feel, you know, smaller, I guess, which is the best way of characterizing it, of course. You know, she was very fun, really well acted. Her voice actress did amazing. There's not much to say about her because she feels a little like they weren't not able to do much with her except for how she interacts with the other characters while they're in headquarters, because it doesn't really feel like Envy was given all that much characterization as much as the others. But for what she is, she was still very entertaining. You still gotta love Envy. Embarrassment was really good too. Embarrassment was super cute, very nice guy. Again, I like the characterization of the fact that he's so giant compared to the other emotions, because when you're embarrassed, suddenly you feel like you're the center of attention. You feel like you're the biggest focal point in any room you're in, and I really like how they handled that with him. And of course, his relationship with Sadness was very nice too. Just the fact that ever since Sadness made it back to headquarters, he'll do his best to try helping Riley through this tough time, especially after anxiety takes over. It's a really well done story. Gotta love Embarrassment. And of course, Ennui. Can't forget about Ennui. Bringing her character being this bored French girl who's just on the sofa, always on her phone. She doesn't even have to get to the console to activate it. She has the app on her phone because she can't even be bothered. I friggin' love her design too. The whole limp noodle thing. Very clever. It's very funny. I like how if she were to stand up tall, and if I remember correctly, I think she does stand up tall at some point in the movie, she is nearly as tall as Embarrassment. But because of how much she's always limping her body the entire time, she doesn't look all that tall, but it's just really funny to me. You remember how some people, when Inside Out 2 trailers came out, they were like, why is Riley suddenly getting new emotions? It's not like in the first movie that there was new emotions. It's like they're just adding more because it's a sequel, blah, 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 blah. Because I guess these people didn't pay attention to the fact that in Inside Out 1, they mentioned that after joy and sadness were the first batch, disgust, fear, and anger were also new emotions introduced to Riley one by one. I guess they didn't pay attention to that. Also, in the first movie, they had this idea that they wanted to do where Riley has an entire cast of implied emotions that are just not in headquarters all the time. They're in a room waiting for when they need to be useful. And they actually bring this back in Inside Out 2. Because, Anxiety mentioned the fact that her and the other new emotions have always existed. They've just been laying in wait for the time where Riley was going to finally need them. And then, of course, they have a secret fifth emotion, which I'm not going to mention in case it's spoilers, which I'm going to be surprised by. But either way, there is another fifth emotion who pops by every now and then saying the fact that, is it time for them to be useful? But no, not yet. They're laying in wait in Riley's mind until the day where they can be useful to her. And I like that. They bring that idea back in a flawless way. And I will also like to mention the fact that Ennui was going to be a character in the first movie. All the emotions were going to be characters in the first movie. But Ennui was actually one that was in storyboards and deleted scenes. And I just find that very interesting. Okay, one last thing I want to mention while we're in the character section. The fact that John Ratzenberger came back to voice Fritz, one of the mine workers, after not being in Pixar movies for so long, right? I don't think we're aware of why he stopped being in Pixar movies. He wasn't in Soul, and then he wasn't in any of the Pixar movies after that until Inside Out 2. But there's a weird pattern I just want to mention. Soul. He's not in Soul. And that movie is the first one of Pixar's films over the past few years that had to be dumped on a Disney Plus because of the pandemic, right? Pixar always said that John Ratzenberger was their good luck charm. That's why he's in so many of their movies as cameos. So, he's not the good luck charm anymore because he's not in the movies. And they're not able to be in theaters. They're not able to receive any of their money back because, streaming doesn't make as much as they would have in theaters. They are failures in the eyes of Disney, even though critically receptioned, people love Turning Red, they love Luca, they love Soul, they love, all these movies, Elemental, you get the idea. Not Lightyear, though. That one's, we don't talk about Lightyear. But either way, now he's back, Inside Out 2, after so many years of not being in Pixar movies. The good luck charm is back. And Inside Out 2 breaks box office records and is one of the best Pixar sequels ever made, and one of the most critically acclaimed and financially successful movies, like animated movies of all time. Is that a coincidence? I think not.
If we can't follow the stream, we don't know where we're going. And if we don't know where we're going, we can't follow the stream. It is an endless loop of tragedy and consequence.
Or we could just ask those guys.
Oh yeah, or that.
Alright, so when it comes to the animation of Inside Out 2, it's even better than the first one. And the crazy thing about that is Inside Out 1 released around the time when Pixar's animation and just 3D animation in general was getting to the point where it can look like and simulate realistic imagery. The Good Dinosaur, which came out a few months after Inside Out, was what solidified that. But Inside Out was a close second. And it also looked really, really good. And I was not expecting Inside Out 2 to look that much better, but oh my goodness, it looks amazing. One of my favorite details of the Inside Out movies is the fact that the emotions themselves are not physical, they're kind of crackly. Like if you look at their skins, or their skin in general, their bodies are made of little colorful dots. If you can pay attention, I'll show an up-close image so you get an idea of what I'm talking about. And except their clothes. Their clothes are normal. But either way, their bodies themselves are like little dots. And I remember that from the first Inside Out took forever for Pixar to find a way to do it. But it paid off, and again, it looks even better in this movie. And it looked amazing in the first movie. So I'm just floored. And of course, the new environments, the colors. Oh, I love the colors of the Inside Out movies. You got the new designs, new animation styles for this movie. there's actually quite a bit of like animation differences that are not just, you know, normal 3D models in this movie. Like there was 2D animation, there was paper craft, there was simulated like old PlayStation graphic style. It was really fun to see all the different visuals in this movie. I was not expecting there to be so much interesting stuff to look at, and I'm very happy that there was. Pixar, they always go above and beyond, and Inside Out 2 is no exception. Absolutely amazing animation.
She fails to impress the coach, does not become a firehawk, and finally arrives at high school. She has no one. She eats alone, and only the teachers know her name.
Ew.
Okay, you and I are gonna be friends.
And with all that rambling done, that was my review of Inside Out 2. And with how amazingly done and out of this friggin' world and blowing away all expectations that I had for this movie, and really anyone had for this movie, there was definitely a good chunk of people who knew that they were going to enjoy it. Of course, including me. It was still going to be an enjoyable movie. But how good? Like, was it going to justify its own existence as another Pixar sequel? And it did. I'm going to give this movie an A+. They really knocked it out of the park. Not quite an S, but an A+ is still freaking phenomenal. I can see why people are saying that they would not now mind an Inside Out 3. Considering how reluctant people are to the idea of Pixar sequels still, in Inside Out 3 now being a thing that people would actually want to see, I mean, it just makes sense. There's so much more to this like franchise you can go to. There's a Disney Plus series on the way in early 2025 about dream productions, and it's going to explore why Riley's dreams can be so weird, and in general just why dreams are so weird in the first place. And knowing the Inside Out franchise is going to be really well done, really smart, really clever, really funny, really engaging. And yes, I also would not mind an Inside Out 3. There's so much to this world that they have developed, so much that we have not seen, so much just waiting to meet its full potential, and it's just super exciting to see how Pixar can still pull out a masterpiece every now and again to this very day. And with all that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this video. I also hope you all enjoyed Inside Out 2. And if you did, I hope you wouldn't mind liking and subscribing. It would really mean a lot to me. And of course, have a fantastic rest of your day.